All right, so hello everyone, and welcome to our Fireside chat with Richard Heideman and Kevin Malone, our change maker. I want to begin by introducing myself. I'm Johanna Guttman, and I'm National President of Emunah of America. Many of you know Richard Heideman. Richard is very, very well known within our community. He's president of the American Zionist Movement. He is senior counsel of Heideman, Noodleman, and Kalik, the Washington law firm, which represents American victims of terror. He is past president of B'nai B'rith International and the founding chairman of the Israel Forever Foundation. He is also author of The Hague Odyssey, Israel's Struggle for Security on the Front Lines of Terror and Her Battle for Justice at the United Nations. And we also have with us Kevin Malone. Kevin Malone was in 1995, you were called the best general manager in the game of baseball. You played baseball at the University of Louisville, and followed by that, you were general manager of the Montreal Expos in 1994. In 1996, assistant general manager of the Baltimore Orioles. And then you spent 3 years as executive vice president and general manager of the LA Dodgers. But more recently, I understand, Kevin, you have dedicated your talents, experiences, and relationships to fight human trafficking. You've been dubbed a human trafficking abolitionist, and you are the founder and executive director of Protect the Path, as in People Against Trafficking Humans, and president, co-founder of the United States Institute Against Human Trafficking. I'm going to welcome you both. We're very, very excited to have this chat together. Emunah of America is having its virtual annual dinner coming up in September 13th. The theme of our dinner is Be the Change, and we are featuring several change makers. And Kevin, by all definitions of the word change maker, you are it without a doubt. You are making a very positive impact on the world around you and improving the lives of people around you. So welcome both, and it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Johanna, thank you very much for introducing both Kevin and me. Kevin, you've done great things. Say a little more about yourself. Say a little more, if you would, about what has motivated you in your life and what drives you today?
Well, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, born and raised there. And I have to attribute a lot of my success motivation to my mother, who told me I could accomplish anything. She was my champion, and she kind of motivated me in all kinds of ways. So I grew up with a very loving family, played sports my whole life, played all the sports. Baseball, basketball, football. As I got older, I found out I was better in baseball than the other two, and I focused on baseball and played in college, and then I played minor league baseball for the Indians and the Mets, and then ended up coaching in college, and then got back into professional baseball as a scout and as a baseball coach, and was blessed, Richard, to get to the major leagues and run 3 major league teams. And along the way, I met an amazing woman, Marilyn. We got married in 1983. We have 2 children. My daughter Shannon's 33. My son Sean is 30. And we live in Las Vegas. And I fight human trafficking with a focus on eradicating domestic human trafficking in America.
So it's an interesting career to be focused on team sports, to be a leader, to see to it that everything works right, you know, from the front office all the way to the field. How have you applied those skills to your work with your nonprofit in standing up against human trafficking?
Well, that's a great question. I think to have success in the major leagues of baseball, you need to work as a team. You need to be a unit. Everyone has to have certain skills and abilities, and it's the opportunity to put all of those together to get contributions from all of your players to win games and to win championships. So I think it's a matter of building a winning, successful culture, where everyone knows the expectations, knows what they have to do to not only individually be successful, but be successful as a team. And I think I was prepared getting into the nonprofit, into the anti-human trafficking world, to collaborate, to find people that were really good at certain things. I can't do everything. I'm not an expert in everything, but I can put together people. I can formulate teams, find people that are good in certain areas, and then bring them all together to accomplish a goal, and that is to fight human trafficking, to protect our children. And it takes a lot, but it just takes the ability to stay focused, to have vision, and to work with all of your people to get the best out of them.
We have heard that you founded the U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking. Do I have the name right?
Yes, sir, you do.
You know, in baseball, marketing is in many ways one of the key drivers of everything. If you don't have good marketing, if you don't have a good brand, if you don't have a good logo that's acceptable in life, if you don't have something pleasing for the fans and that meets the needs of the players and the coaches and the front office, you can't get the job done. Tell us, how did you pick the name U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking?
Great question. I think my partner and I, Jeff Rogers, who we put this together, we're co-founders. We realized that everyone was focused on international or foreign trafficking. Everyone knows that trafficking is taking place in Thailand or India or the Philippines, but very few people realize how big the problem is in the United States. So we wanted to have a name that pointed out that we are focused domestically in the United States. And we wanted an institute, meaning there's a lot involved in what we do. We're on Capitol Hill a lot, talking to senators and congressmen and women about what they can do to change laws to protect our kids. We do rescues. We work with rescue teams. We have the only boys trafficking safe home in America located in Florida. So we put it together so that it would kind of tell who we are. I know it's a little bit of a technical name, but we felt like it explained who we are and what we do. And you know, I wanted to comment too, Richard, about what you asked about putting together teams and about marketing and branding and stuff. What I found, the best type of marketing and branding is winning, is success. If you win, that kind of takes care of most of the marketing and branding problems. So I'm really excited that in fighting human trafficking, we've been able to accomplish a lot. We've been able to rescue a lot of kids, change laws in various states, change laws on the federal level. So I measure success by results. And we have metrics, we have KPIs, we have dashboards. We approach this in a very, even though it's a nonprofit, in a very business-like manner, because we want to get results and we want to protect our kids from being trafficked.
Johanna, in her introduction, referred to you as a change maker. How do you see being a change maker with, shall we say, being a visionary? By that I mean, you know, visions are wonderful, but you gotta have the tachlis, the stuff to make it all come together in order to convert vision to real change. How have you blended your work with the U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking to take it from your vision to creating real change?
Well, I have to thank God for that, Richard. I think that God has placed inside of me a burden for the voiceless, for the disenfranchised, for the poor, for the traffic victims. And I believe that motivates me. I have an amazing love for God because of what he's done for me. And I seek God daily. And I think through that, I believe the wisdom of God, he imparts that to me. He blesses me with that. And I'm able to basically put into practice and accomplish my vision because I do it in a way to honor God. I don't try to please man. I'm not a man pleaser. I'm a God pleaser. And then when I seek to elevate, honor, and glorify God, then things seem somehow to get accomplished. So I'm being completely honest with you. I give all the praise and the glory to God, because I couldn't do what I do, fighting evil, fighting darkness, fighting pedophiles, fighting the evilest of all people, men that are paying to rape children. I couldn't do that unless I had the power of God, the strength of God, the boldness of God. So that's where it comes from, Richard, and that's the truth.
Well, praise to you for your commitment to God and for God being in your life and in your work and life's commitments. When we think about human trafficking, that's trafficking committed by people against people.
Yes.
When we think about sex abuse, that's abuse committed by people against people. How do you, in your work, address the people who are the perpetrators, the people who commit these terrible acts? And how do you take steps in your work to protect and preserve the dignity of the victim?
Great questions. Dealing with the perpetrators, I believe that everyone is entitled to grace and forgiveness. Now, that's hard to say. Dealing with men that are paying to rape children, it's hard for me to get to that point, and that's a God thing, that I would forgive them, or that God would forgive them, and to try to help them find help. I think part of what we try to do is, one, we work closely with law enforcement. We want these men to stop purchasing sex from children. We want that to end. So we try to find resources and provide help to these men so they can stop that. They're addicted to this, and we need to provide the resources and the help. And I think they need to be punished if they won't stop. And I think we do our best to try to send many of these men to prison as possible. But also, we do try to point them in the way of redemption and to get healthy. As far as with the victims, with the kids, we do everything possible. We provide wraparound services. I mean, we're talking about physical help, emotional help, spiritual help, every kind of help possible. These are the most traumatized people, individuals on the face of the earth. These kids that have been raped 10, 15 times a day for years, they have a lot of issues, as you can imagine. So we do everything we can to try job training, education, all the wraparound medical services that they're needed. We try to love on them. We try to just be the family that they've never had. And I think we've seen great results. Most of these kids that we deal with, boys, we also support a couple girls' safe homes. They've never experienced true love, and we try to show them that. And we try just to point them in the right direction and equip them for the future, that they can be independent and they can be healthy, productive citizens. But it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of collaboration. And Richard, it takes a lot of prayer.
And this is also, I'm sorry, this is also where, you know, Emunah is doing the same thing in Israel, right? I mean, we are the voices for those most vulnerable, for children at risk, women at risk, families at risk. And we have a lot of children who we are dealing with sexual abuse, and we are also trying to prevent children falling prey to the predators. There are a lot, we're also trying to tackle this on many, many different levels. And of course, we are also a faith-based organization, which is where I guess we align, right, Kevin? We have a lot in common in that sense. Absolutely. But the work you do is tremendous, really incredible.
I'd like to congratulate Israel on putting into place in July, I think, of this year, the Nordic model, which I think has proven very successful in many countries. It's basically a sex buyer's law where it decriminalizes all who are being prostituted. It helps them get out of that lifestyle, and it makes the buying people for sex a criminal act. So it really punishes demand. So I think buying people for sex is wrong. I think we need to do what we can to stop it. And I do applaud Israel for putting this into practice. And I think you're going to see great results over the next few years where men are deterred from entering into this type of situation. So congratulations to Israel and thank you, Emuna, all that you guys do to provide the services to all the victims. And I know you're doing a lot of things in prevention as well. So we'd like to get ahead of the problem, and I think the Nordic model helps do that. It tries to deter and stop men.
And, right. And we also, we have a legislative branch in Israel that advocated for and supported the enactment of the Nordic model in Israel. I believe Israel is the 8th country to adopt it.
It's great. And I believe you'll see amazing results. And I'm hoping that, you know, God willing, that in the next 3 to 5 years, we can get the United States to do the same thing. I know there's going to be a lot of pushback, but I believe it's the right thing to do.
I think the work that Emuna does is just superb and must be well known, is highly respected, is highly influential in taking care of and in protecting youth and people at risk. And Kevin, what you do in the Institute really mirrors that. It's so wonderful. Could you explain for us, Kevin, a little more about the Nordic model? Johanna briefed me a little about it in preparation for our discussion and conversation today. And I came away from my conversation with Johanna sort of summarizing it to focus on persecuting and prosecuting the exploiter while protecting and promoting the victim. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate, Richard. I think just to try to make it as understandable as possible, what it does is it decriminalizes all the prostitutes or people that are being prostituted. And because now across the world, most of those victims are being charged and made into be criminals. So it decriminalizes the prostitutes. And we know there's no such thing as a child prostitute. If you're 17 and under, you can't be a prostitute. All the laws in America say, and around the world, that you can't be a prostitute if you're a child. And plus what the Nordic model does is it helps provide services for these victims that want out of that lifestyle. And the biggest point for me is that it makes buying people for sex a criminal offense, and it deters it. It goes after demand. And I think, you know, it's supply and demand, Richard. If there's limited demand, then the supply goes away and then there's less victims. So it's basically a business principle. And I just think buying people is wrong and it's unacceptable. And I thank Israel for taking this big major step, and hopefully we can get it done. And I think Canada is one of those countries that has the Nordic model, and I'm hoping and praying that the United States will soon follow suit.
Thank you. Johanna, tell us all more about Emuna's commitment to the, shall we say, the interrelationship between faith and the power of God, the belief in the community, the strength of the community, and how that fits with the family unity.
All right. Well, Emuna was started by religious women. It's definitely has a religious Zionistic perspective. All of our projects are within the context of religious Zionism. I would say, though, that a large portion of the people that we serve are not, in fact, religious. Though it's interesting enough, for example, with our children's homes, parents actually have a choice in Israel as to, even though the children are being removed from them, the parents can choose the home that they want their children to be placed in. And it's very interesting how parents are still choosing religious homes, even if they are not in a sort of religious framework themselves. It's interesting to see that. But with regard to, you know, in line with what Kevin has been speaking about, I mean, we have a project that we partner with Telem that has girls between the ages of 12 through 21. girls that are coming from religious households. They come from very sheltered backgrounds, so they are particularly prey to people who can manipulate them. And they're out of their homes for a multitude of reasons, and Telem provides them emergency rescue, shelter. We work on long-term rehabilitation. We also have a safe haven where girls can drop in, get an idea of what resources are out there, and have a place to take a shower, you know, have a place to crash, so to speak. Of course, therapy is a very big part of this formula. I love what Kevin is saying also about approaching it from many different directions. You know, this is a problem. These kind of society ills have to be attacked from various points. We have the legislative end where we're trying to put laws in place that protect the more vulnerable. And we have a project like in partnership with Telem. We have a girls crisis center where girls who are actually the victims of sexual abuse can enter for 6 months, and then we just figure out their placement from there. We have a home that's for boys with serious psychological issues, and some of them have are either the victims themselves and have been exhibiting inappropriate sexual advances themselves. So we're trying to, again, heavy duty therapy, trying to turn these lives around, trying to, you know, come in there at the very early stages and hoping, you know, so that people do not become predators, because many predators are actually, were at one point victims themselves. So there, you know, we're also trying to tackle it from many different angles, because you need a multi-pronged approach, I think, to tackle this kind of widespread issue. So I'm so impressed when I hear what Kevin is doing. I also love your question, Richard, about how you go from having the vision to execution, right? I mean, there are a lot of people who have vision, and then there are people who can execute, but they're not always the same people. And
Right.
you need to really put a team together to make that happen. So I love that, you know, taking what you learn from working with a team, organizing a team. I don't know much about baseball, but I imagine it's a very large organization and lots of moving parts with baseball team, and parlaying that into advocacy for vulnerable people, more than advocacy, really protection of an advocacy. I love that. I love that. I never would have made that connection. So Richard, I love the way you put that, you know.
Thank you, Johanna, and kol hakavod to Emuna for all the great work, important work that you do. Kevin, can you explain to everyone how the elements of, shall we say, identifying the problem, locating the victims, getting them resources, blending them with long-term safety and security. How does all of that blend in with the work of the U.S. Institute that you've created?
Well, that's a real challenge, Richard, because as Alana just said, there's so many moving parts, and there's so many people that are against helping kids. It's interesting. We all have compassion and hearts for victims and to help, but there's a lot of people out there that surprisingly want to victimize others and want to take advantage of others. So there's always hurdles in this battle. It's a big process to one, as you say, identify. You know, we're working in schools to try to get the educational departments in the different states to teach about human trafficking, to make kids know what it looks like, how they're being groomed, how they're being recruited, who's doing it, why they're doing it. That's just starting to happen. So we need to educate our kids. We need to educate our parents. Parents oftentimes are disconnected. They don't know who their kids' friends are. They're not really involved in their kids' lives. And these predators are very savvy, and they're very intelligent, and they know how to lure kids into this into this scourge that they find themselves into, this evil. So we need to educate. We need to make people aware. We need to give people a call to action. We need our politicians and our government officials to change laws to protect our kids. There's a lot that everyone can do. No matter where you're at, your sphere of influence, you can be a difference maker in your community, in your neighborhood, and in your school, wherever you're at. And there's different ways to identify these kids. There's different types of ways that we can spot them. I know we work with hospitals that when they're brought in for treatment, we work with all the different sectors of society, from the government to law enforcement to business to the churches to synagogues to hospitals to technology. We use technology to try to really stop this and eradicate it, because it takes a multi-pronged approach to really stop this. And we need everyone doing what they can do, because these predators and these traffickers are very sophisticated, and our kids are very vulnerable. And we find that about half of these kids, a little over half, are coming out of foster care. We need to do a better job taking care of our kids that are in foster care in America. And so there's a lot of vulnerable kids out there, and we need to do a much better job to protect them.
Kevin, in launching Change Makers, Emuna is focusing on impacting the world.
Yes,
that's a big vision. That's a big undertaking. But it requires real people doing real things. It requires ordinary people and extraordinary people doing ordinary things and extraordinary things. As a team builder, because that's what you are, tell us how you have approached in your work standing against human trafficking and standing against sex abuse, and committed to protecting those who need protection. How is it that you have applied the principles of impacting the world in a big way, but doing it one person at a time?
Well, that's just it, Richard. You just nailed it. I think you got to start one at a time. You can't chew the whole apple in one bite. You've got to take small bites. And I think it's finding people that have the heart and have the compassion, have the empathy, have the sympathy, have the heart. Alana mentioned it earlier. We can have a strategic plan. We can have a vision, and we can put all that down, and we can really strategize and come up with a great plan. But it's having a heart, having the heart of God, that we can sacrifice ourselves and our resources and our talents to help others. And I think that brings honor to God. So for me, it's about finding like-minded people that really care about others. And it's not easy. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that care about others, but they're often focused in different areas, or they're doing something else. So it's, as you said, it's letting people know wherever you're at, you can do something to make a difference in your own community. Every one of us, I think, are called, and it talks about that in the book of Jeremiah. It talks about, God has a plan and a purpose for each of our lives. And to me, that means for all of us is helping others. It's loving God, but it's loving and serving others. And I think I just look for those types of people, Rich. I look for people with talents and skills and abilities. I look for people with strategic planning skills, but I look for people primarily with heart, that are determined, that will do what it takes to protect our kids. And and then those people seem to know people, and then it's the multiplication principle, and then we just start building an army, a team of people, and then we impact our communities, our cities, our states, our country, and then we impact the world. And I think Emuna is doing a great job in that. And I just want to say right now to you and to Alana that I'm going to write a large check in the next few days to Emuna for the work that they're doing. And I want to encourage people. This is an amazing organization that's helping kids and women and families in Israel. I want to be a part of that. God says he will bless those who bless Israel. And I'm not the smartest guy in the wood, Richard, but when God says something, I kind of believe what he says. So I'm going to write a nice check to him And I want everybody else out there to think about all that the work that they're doing, pray about it, and God will bless us when we do the right thing, and helping Amuna is the right thing, in my opinion. So I'm gonna step up, and I thank you guys for the opportunity to be connected to you. I want to do more. I'm gonna tell others about you guys. You know, I come from the other side of the fence, so to speak, from the evangelical Christian world, and I'm going to tell pastors and churches and denominations about the great work that you guys are doing. I just be a blessing to you guys.
I'm so overwhelmed by your kindness and your support and your generosity. I'm completely overwhelmed. This is so amazing. You know, we're so very, very thankful, Kevin. And you know, all of us here on in this chat, we all share a love for Israel and for the people of Israel. And when you have faith-based organizations coming together, you know, I mean, we are all trying to, you know, address these very difficult, multi-layered problems. We're all trying to do our part, but when we work together, I mean, we can make critical change in lives, critical change on a much larger scale when we come together. So partnering with Kevin is, you know, I'm so looking forward to that. I think it's going to be amazing, truly amazing. And I thank you, Kevin, from the bottom of my heart on behalf of Israel's vulnerable citizens.
He's doing to help Israel. I mean, I read his bio or his resume, and I didn't finish it, Richard, because I don't read that fast, but wow, I'm impressed with all the things you've done. And I'm grateful that you're a part of Emunah, and you're helping Emunah, and all the things you're doing for Israel and for so many people. It's just, you're an encouragement, Richard, and I thank you for being a part of this, and anything I can do to help you, Richard, or you, Alana, for Emunah, count me in. I raised my hand. I'm in. I'm all in. I love what you guys are doing. I've been to Israel a bunch of times. I want to go back. I love going back. I met Ruth Guggenheim there, and she's the one that connected me to you guys, and she's doing great work there. So,
well, next time, bring a delegation with you. Let's, you know, we'd love to welcome you. I know Richard is there all the time as well, and we'd love to, you know, host both of you if possible.
I do. I look forward to that.
So I want to say to you, Johanna, and to you, Kevin, you are both such outstanding, committed, loving people, and kol hakavod to both of you. We wish only great prayers, Kevin, for you and for your important work, for the work of your U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking. Johanna, we congratulate and applaud the commitment and the important work of Emunah, and we wish great blessings upon Emunah and all of your members and your families, the commitment you have to making a better world. We started out today by Johanna referring to you, Kevin, being a change maker, and we really ought to focus on that as we conclude. And that is, Emunah is a change maker. Emunah is impacting the world, and having a partnership, Kevin, with you is important to every single member, leader, and family of Emunah, and even more than their members, leaders, and families. It's the people they serve who will benefit from your contribution, Kevin. It's the young people of the world, young boys, young girls, who are the prey for those who don't know goodness, but only know evil. We have to turn the heads of those who pray. And I mean pray not in prayer, but P-R-E-Y. Those who put their hands on people that they shouldn't touch. Those who violate young people that they should be praising. So the work that you do, Kevin, is truly God's work. And the work, Johanna, that you do through Emunah is God's work. Our coming together here today is not by chance. Hashem has a plan for all of us. And today, bringing us together under the umbrella of Amunah is something that's very special. And I will remember this conversation, this fireside chat, for as long as I'm alive. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Johanna.
Thank you both for your generosity of time, of spirit, and blessings to everybody. God bless all of you.
Anna, just real quick, I want to say thank you. I mentioned Ilana a couple of times. I mentioned Ruth, but I want to thank you for all that you do. You're special. You're a blessing. And I look forward to getting to know you better. And just God bless you for all that you're doing. You're an amazing lady, and I'm grateful. My life is better by getting to know you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, everybody.